Hi folks, Hugo Rivera here with HugoRivera.net, covering again another topic for you guys and ladies about bodybuilding and fitness. Today I want to go ahead and cover a question that I've been getting a lot lately, which is, how should we alter our training as we age, okay? And the tips I'm going to be covering today apply to everybody. They just don't apply to men and women over 40 or men and women over 30. I think if you can implement these tips as early as the time that you start training, the better off you're going to be, because you're going to be able to have many years of good training with no injuries. And that's the ticket here. I mean, the minute you training correctly and you get injured, typically those injuries keep on coming back over and over again. So it's important that you don't get injured, and furthermore, it is important that you know how to train and execute certain things properly, so that even if you recover from an injury, then you don't re-injure yourself. One of the biggest things that I see is that people, when they go ahead and start their programs, they're just going heavy, because all they hear is, oh, well, you gotta go heavy for gaining muscle and losing fat. And this is not the case. I mean, you need to know, like I covered this week, which repetition ranges you're going to be working out at. And like I've said before, in my programs, I like to make sure that I have periods of higher repetition training, 12 reps and above for some phases. And then, after 3 or 4 weeks, I go down to 6 to 10 repetitions, for example. Okay, so you're going to alter your repetition ranges based on that repetition range that you're going to be doing for that particular phase. You're going to choose a weight that you can properly control. So that takes me to tip number 1, which is to perform the right exercise technique with the proper amount of weight. Okay, if you choose a weight that is way too heavy, it's just not going to be good for you. It's just going to put the stress in your joints, it's going to put the stress in your connective tissue, and you're not going to be getting, the maximum benefit that you want out of the exercise. So the ticket for you to get the most gains out of what you're doing is to choose the right weight and to be able to properly execute the exercise, from beginning to end. Okay, and I'm not talking about doing shortcuts like I see a lot of people doing this at the gym when they're doing curls. Well, guess what? You're using your lower body, your lower back to go ahead and do the lifting. You're using your shoulders as you go ahead and move. Your curls, in fact, I'll show you. Your curls should just look like this. This is what a curl should look like. And then you can actually go ahead and do like a lower rep count on the way down, taking, 3 to 4 seconds to go down. You can take a couple of seconds to go up. You can hold a 1 second contraction and then go back down. Go back up. You see how the curl looks like? I'm not doing this. That will go ahead and mess things up, right? So the key thing is that you need to leave the ego by the door, and you need to do the proper exercise technique. That's the ticket right there, okay? Doing that will protect your joints for years to come. It's much better for you to choose a lighter weight and to reduce the repetition speed than it is to just go ahead and do a heavier weight that you may be able to handle at a faster speed, but that already puts your joints at a more risk for injury. So I like to be very conservative these days, and I like to use time under tension, because the technique of time under tension is going to allow me to keep building muscle, okay, but without having to use as much weight as I can handle. And the reason for that is because the muscles will always get stronger than your joints and your connective tissue, much quicker, okay? So by you doing the proper technique at a slower pace, you will be protecting your connective tissue and your joints, all right? So take 3 to 4 seconds to lower the weight, take a couple of seconds to bring the weight up, and then, keep a 1 second contraction. This is, especially if you're a beginner, this is the way to go. As you get more advanced, for the higher repetition phases, you can go a little bit more rhythmic, but still keeping, total control of the movement. And then when you go into the heavier phases, and this is exactly what I do, then I go back to my slower repetition tempo of like 3 to 4 seconds down, a couple of seconds up, and maybe a 1 second contraction at the top. Okay, so it's super duper important to go ahead and use the right weight and the right technique for the exercise. A lot of people tell me, Hugo, I have some pain in my shoulder that doesn't go away, and I get it when I'm benching, or I have some pain in my knees when I'm squatting or whatever. I kid you not, 9 times out of 10, when I recommend to people to lower the weight and lower the repetition speed, it takes the pain away. It's incredible. So if you're having some nagging pain when you're doing certain exercises and things like that, check your weight and see if you can go ahead and get rid of the pain simply by lowering the weight and lowering the repetition speed. Because that time under tension, I'm telling you, is killer. If you try it out, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, obviously, is to use the proper warm-up. I think it's super important to go ahead and warm up, especially if you're in a cold climate, because just like rubber bands, if you put a rubber band in the refrigerator, you put a little bit of water on it, and you put it on the refrigerator, and you freeze the thing, and you take it out and you try to stretch it, it's going to break. The same thing with the muscles, okay? So we need to make sure that we increase the core body temperature a little bit before we start doing some nice activity for the muscles. So to properly warm up, if you'll be doing, I'll put myself as an example. If I'm doing 225 pounds on the incline bench for, say, 12 to 15 repetitions, the first set, I would just do like 135 pounds for like 10 slow, controlled reps. And I'm talking about slow. I'm talking about like 5 seconds on the way down, maybe like 3 seconds on the way up, maybe I hold a 1 second contraction at the top over there, and that really controlled, because the key here is I want to create that mind to muscle connection, number 1. Number 2, I want to go ahead and get some blood flow into the area, and I want to go ahead and warm everything up, okay? If it is really cold, like for example, when I lived in France, it would get super cold over there because I was in the north of France, so I was close to Belgium. And what I would do is that I would run in place for like 5 minutes. Just, jogging in place for like 5 minutes, or doing some jumping jacks or something like that would increase my core body temperature. If you have like a stationary bike or something like that, you can jump on the stationary bike for like 5 minutes just to raise your core body temperature. We're not talking about some hardcore cardiovascular exercise here. I'm just talking about jumping on the bike and then just doing it just to raise your core body temperature. Obviously, in cold climates, you want to have some warm sweaters and things like that, so that you're not training with your body all cold and stuff. So super duper important to go ahead and raise that body temperature up and get the blood into the muscle. After one good warm-up set, see how you feel, see if you need a second one. Typically I just need like one, but if you need a second one, definitely go for it. And then after that, you can go ahead and start your normal workout. Typically, just my first couple of exercises, like if I'm doing chest and back, for example, I'll go ahead and warm up with chest, I'll go ahead and warm up with back, and then after that, I'm good to go. I don't have to warm up for every single new exercise that I'm doing. I just go ahead and do the warm up at the beginning of the workout, and then I'm good to go, okay? So, super duper important to go ahead and do that. A trick, actually, that you can use as well if you don't want to go ahead and do like jumping jacks, or if you don't want to jog in place or do any stationary bike, do some ab work for 5 minutes. This is a cool trick that I like to use that that has helped me in the past tremendously. Now I live in Florida, so I don't have these issues anymore. But back when I was in France, I would go ahead and do this. I would go ahead and do like crunches and leg raises for like 5 minutes, and that would warm me up pretty good as well. And then I was ready for the workouts. That's a good alternative for you as well, okay? But definitely do not train with your body cold. That's super duper important. Obviously, the next tip I'm going to recommend is using the right training routine, okay? Super important, like I've talked about before, to have a periodized routine that alternates between periods of higher volume and higher repetitions. Like I said, 12 to 20 repetitions, sometimes even 20 to 30 repetitions, and periods of lower repetitions, where you're doing like 6 to 10 repetitions, okay, for your exercises. The reason for this, again, is because if you keep doing super high volume for a long time, that's going to lead to overtraining. If you stay on the lower volume range, that's going to lead to undertraining. Both ways, you're going to go ahead and reach a plateau. So by alternating between higher volume phases and lower volume phases, you press the body to the brink of overtraining, and then you kind of like back off. When you're backing off, your body is able to super compensate and grow. So that's when you're going to go ahead and get some major strength gains, some major growth, and then you go ahead and you really press the body again. Okay, so press, back off, press, back off. This is how your routines should look like. And again, I'll be posting over here my my free 21 day routine, okay? Some days are actually 21 minutes, believe it or not. I'll be posting my free 21 day, I cannot talk today, I'm sorry. My free 21 day routine, so you can go ahead and download it and you can see how I periodize things. And then, like I said, after you go through that routine, you can go ahead and use the routines of any of my books. The Body Sculpting Bible for Women and the Body Sculpting Bible for Men, which is full of routines and diets and supplementation information and proper exercise form descriptions, you name it. So that's the ticket. It's super duper important that you have the right routine, because if you don't have the right routine, again, you may hit over training and then you're going to get injured. So the key to longevity here is to avoid injury at all costs. All right. So if you can start training correctly from the time that you are a teen, okay, you will train for many, many years to come. So this whole thing about like, do I need to change something if I'm like over 40 or over 50? I'm here to tell you, all my clients, they train pretty hard, okay? And I don't, unless there is some sort of like injury that my client has, and again, the injury could be on a 20-some-year-old or it could be on a 60-some-year-old. Unless there is some sort of injury, there's no really a need to specialize the workout for a specific person. So if the person is healthy, I can build up that client to be able to train at the same level that a 15-year-old could train, okay? So it's just a matter of building up the person, giving the right routines so that the body adapts, and then over time you go ahead and make the routines more and more challenging to keep the body moving forward. Now, with that said, when I say that I keep making the routines more challenging, it doesn't mean that they're going to spend more time at the gym. Most of my clients are in and out of the gym within 30 minutes, okay? Because again, like I've mentioned before, and I'll keep mentioning it over and over again because I think there's a lot of misconception out there, you do not want to train over 45 minutes. Over 45 minutes, your cortisol levels begin to rise and your testosterone levels begin to go down. So you're going to be wasting your time by doing more work at the gym past 45 minutes, okay? And the reason I mentioned this again is because I was watching a program yesterday on TV, and, it had a dietitian giving some pretty good advice. I have to say, she was on point with the advice in regards to nutrition, but when it came to the exercise, she was saying, well, you need to do a minimum of 1 hour of exercise per day. And I'm thinking to myself, oh no, nobody told her about the cortisol response. So there's still a lot of misconception out there that you need to do at least 1 hour of exercise every single day, when in reality, between 30 to 45 minutes, it's going to go ahead and cook you. I mean, me personally, I don't spend more than 35 minutes at the gym these days. I go in and out. I just train so fast and so efficiently that after 35 minutes, I'm completely wiped. I mean, in 35 minutes, I can do these days. Well, back in the day when I was 14 and I had no clue what I was doing, it would take me like 2 to 3 hours to go through that kind of routine. And these days, I do it in 35 minutes. So that's the ticket right there. And of course, I gain way more with these type of routines than I did back then when I was training through 2 to 3 hours. Suffice it to say, this is kind of interesting too. Back when I was 14, I felt 10 times worse than I feel these days, because back then I was always with nagging pains. I was always like sore. I was always nursing some sort of injury or something along those lines. So, these days I don't have any of those problems because I train smart. So that's the ticket right there. Another thing that I want to recommend for everyone, regardless of age, is to take care of your rotator cuff. This is the rotator cuff. The muscles that allow for this rotation, that's a rotator cuff. And the reason for that is because as you get stronger, your rotator cuff actually gets weaker if you don't train it. Now, you don't need a whole bunch to go ahead and do the rotator cuff, okay? Just like 3 sets of 15 to 20 repetitions of external rotations, it's going to go ahead and get the job done. The ticket, though, is to not use a heavy weight. Again, you want to go ahead and use the proper form. I'll go ahead and teach you actually the proper form for the external rotations that I use. You could typically do these. I do these like as a warm-up actually for like my chest and back days. And I also go ahead and do this for shoulders and arms day as well. Okay, just 3 sets, 13 to 15 reps. It's gonna go ahead and get the job done. Let me show you. Don't need a lot of weight. These are like 8 pounds, right? So I'm gonna show you from the front how it looks. I'm gonna show you from the back. These are some external rotations, okay? That's 1 repetition right there. 2, there you go. 3, 4, 5. Let me show you from the side how it looks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again from the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The key ticket here is that as you do the force, you're going to go ahead and breathe out, and then when you come back down, you're going to breathe in, okay? Those are the external rotations. You could do like, you know, for my higher repetition weeks for external rotations, I typically do 15 to 20, and then for my lower repetition weeks, I don't do 6 to 10. I just go ahead and do like, you know, 10 to 15 or something like that. So the external rotations are really, really good, and they're going to go ahead and keep the health of your rotator cuff, because if your rotator cuff goes, there goes your ability to bench, there goes your ability to do pull-ups, there goes your ability to do a whole bunch of stuff. So you got to keep that external rotation in good health, and just 3 sets of that little exercise that I just showed you is going to go ahead and protect you. So don't neglect that stuff, because I don't see that advertised out there. A lot of people just do rotator cuff exercises only when they get in trouble, and when they go ahead and injure their rotator cuff, that's kind of a bad way to be introduced to the exercise. Try to do the exercise starting today, and you're not going to go ahead and injure your rotator cuff. And again, like I said before, slow down the repetition count. You know, slow it down. 3 to 4 seconds on the way down, you know, a couple of seconds on the way up, and then, you know, 1 second contraction. In that manner, you will protect your joints, and you will be able to train for many, many years to come. Because again, I just see it over and over again. I just see so many people get overzealous, and then they do too much heavy weights at the gym, and then they're injured. And once they're injured, they're out for like weeks to an end. You cannot progress if you're out. So very, very important that you take care of these things. These are training tips, obviously. Like I was saying, you know, there are also obviously nutrition tips that I can offer for maintaining proper joint health and everything else like that. And that's obviously, it applies to everybody. Just follow a proper nutrition plan. So a proper nutrition plan, like I've talked before, you know, start with a baseline diet of like 40% carbs, 40% proteins, and 20% fats. An easy way to calculate your macronutrient values of what you need to take in: take your body weight in pounds, multiply it times 1, that's your protein. Take your body weight in pounds, multiply it times 1, that's your carbs. in grams, okay, per day that you need to take in. And if you take your body weight and you multiply it times 0.3, that's going to go ahead and give you the grams of fat, okay? So if Daniel says to please drink some water now. Yeah, thanks for the reminder, Daniel. If you multiply your body weight in pounds times 3, that's going to give you the amount of grams of fat that you need to take in on a daily basis. So this is a good diet to start with. And then, like I've said before, after a couple of weeks of you tracking your progress, if you see, you know, fat loss, if you see your fat loss leaving, your fat, like I said, I cannot talk today. If you see your body fat going down and you see your muscles more defined and everything, then you're on the right track. If you don't see too much progress, lower the carb count a little bit, and you should be okay. Just a little bit, by like 20 grams or so, that's it. And then do that for a couple of more weeks and see how that goes. So basically what you're going to do is that based on your bi-weekly progress, you will alter your diet as needed, okay? So anyways, that's pretty much all I have for today. That's what I wanted to cover. I wanted to make sure that all of you are training safely and that you all have many, many years of good progress to come, because like I said, if you get injured, then you're out. Okay, and I know so many people that stay out for years to an end after an injury, so I don't want that to happen to any of you. All right, so with that said, let me go ahead and see if I have any questions over here, and I'll see about answering them. Please advise, should we do this exercise before or after the shoulders? Yeah, great question. The external rotations, you can go ahead and do it just right before you start doing your shoulder exercises, or you can do them after, okay? Typically, before, it makes for a good warm-up as well, and it gets your whole blood circulating in the area. So before is a really good time to do it. So I definitely advise you to try it out before. The same thing, you can do it on chest and back day too. You could do it like right before like the first exercise, and it serves as a good warm-up, and it gets all that area nicely warmed up and everything. Good question, kid. Let's see. Thank you for your help, says Rafael. You're welcome. Carlos says, good job and thank you for all the tips and advices. You're welcome, my friend. Let's see. Daniel says maybe he memorizes all this before going live. Not really. I just make it up as I go. Let's see. What else we have? Rafael says, good job. Congratulations and thank you for your help. You're most welcome. Mark says, can you give me the link to get Labrada supplements and send you a message on Facebook? I'm sorry, Mark, I didn't see your message. Yeah, let me go ahead and post the link after I'm done with the live over here. I'll go ahead and post the link in the same place that I'm going to post the link for the 21-day program, okay? And I'll go ahead and take care of you, all right? Not a problem. Plus, you can also use my discount code of Hugo10. You get 10% off. Let's see. Maximilian says, can you speak French? Oui. He's okay, hello, are you drinking steroids? No, it's actually water. Here you go, water. What else we have? Can you also guide us on how to properly do a lateral raise for shoulder? Sure. Check this out. All right, there's a few ways to do the lateral raises. Some people do them like this. And that allows you to do slightly more weight. I like to do them like this because that version really puts a whole bunch of stress in that lateral head. Here's how it looks from the side. And like I said, you can always make the exercise harder by taking your time to go down. Bring it up, keep a 1 second contraction, bring it down, bring it up, keep a 1 second contraction, bring it down. All right? So that's my favorite version of doing the lateral raises, but like I said, you can also do them like this. All right? or you can have a slight bend as you're doing them. Again, those little bends on the elbow allow you to do slightly more weight. So you could use any of those versions of the lateral raise. Okay? Let's see. Good question. And let's see if I have anything else. Can I train chest and back at the same day? Yeah. In fact, if you look at the 21-day workout that I'm putting here, I'm doing chest and back. Like typically I like to do chest, back, and calves on one day, shoulders and arms on another day, and then legs and abs on another day. That's how I do my routine. That's how the routines of the Body Sculpting Bibles are too. And check that out. Hold on. I saw a question that came in over here. What's the difference between training for hypertrophy, which is muscle size, and training for strength? Great question. In fact, training for hypertrophy involves doing a little bit higher repetition training, okay? And training for strength involves periodization, but typically at the lower repetition ranges. The reason for that is because training for strength is more of a neural adaptation. What that means is that we're training the brain to tell the muscles to fire off as many muscle fibers as possible to move a weight, okay? So that's a neural adaptation, okay? So again, we're training the nervous system and the brain to activate as many muscle fibers as possible to move the weight from A to B. So when you're training for strength, instead of periodizing periods of like 12 to 20 repetitions or higher, and periods of 6 to 10 repetitions, we may be periodizing in a way that the higher repetition phases are like, 10 to 12, and then we have phases of like, 5 to like 8, and then we have phases where we do like singles, doubles, and triples, okay? 1, 2, or 3 reps for the exercise. So that's more of a power lifter sort of periodization, and power lifters are really, really good about putting some periodized training together that will get your body to grow in strength. Here's the deal, and I get asked this a lot of times. When you train for strength, do you still gain muscle size? Yeah, as a side effect, you do still get some muscle size. It's just the fact that your strength is going to increase much more quickly than the muscle size is, because you're not really training for muscle size. You're training the body to move weights, okay? As opposed to body sculpting / bodybuilding routine, which is going to be training your body to grow in muscle fiber size, and the strength will be a side effect. So your strength will also go up. It's just not going to go up as quickly as it does on a powerlifting program, okay? So anyways, that's pretty much it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, click like below or love, and comment. Let me know what you think. Share it with your friends, and until next time, take care and train hard.